Okay, so it is now exactly time for us to be looking at the new Access service, which I have to say, I'm not an expert on it, but it's an incredibly impressive early intervention service. Just in the research that I did, I have to say the recovery rates are outstanding. Don't want to steal your thunder, so I'm not going to quote what the results are, but they're extraordinary. So we've got three presenters for this session. We've got Susan Anderson, who's the Deputy CEO of Beyond Blue. We have Dan Woods, who is the Executive GM of Business Development at Bolton Clarke. And we also have Simone Thrippleton as well. So I think we're just waiting for the presentation to come up. I have to say that we are doing exceptionally well because we're now a minute ahead of schedule, so we've got this timed perfectly for Chris to... Fantastic. So please join me in warmly welcoming Susan, Dan and Simone.
Thank you, Sharon. I think we're doing extremely well because you're running a very tight ship. So well done to you. Look, sometimes picking up the phone and asking for help can be the hardest thing to do. It takes a lot of courage, and particularly when it comes to mental health. Stigma around mental health, as we all know, is still a major barrier to people seeking support when they need it. At Beyond Blue, over the past 17 years, we've seen enormous shift and growth in public awareness about mental health, but there's still much to do in eliminating stigma, as we all know. Only 46% of Australians with anxiety and depression access treatment, and we know that stigma is a major barrier in that, and a major issue in that reluctance to seek help. So when you combine that to a lack of access to services, to cultural barriers, fees for professional services, waiting lists, and navigating a complex mental health system, it's any wonder that people don't seek the help that they need. So that's why today is so impressive, and well done to the Southwestern Sydney PHN. What a great day to bring everyone together to understand where we fit in and to truly work together to resolve some of these issues, to encourage people and make sure that the right services are there at the right time for people. So I really have a great privilege today in launching what we think is a breakthrough mental health program for people across Western Sydney. So New Access is an Australian first early intervention program that really cuts to the heart of trying to reduce the barriers to people accessing services. And it's quite different, and we believe that this approach is really innovative and can really go a long way in changing people's behaviours. So I'll just sort of run through now. Basically, New Access is a low intensity coaching program that is free of charge. It's based on CBT, and I'm sure many of you are well versed in CBT. The program is for people over 18 with mild to moderate depression and anxiety who aren't accessing other mental health services. And it consists of up to 6 free sessions of low intensity CBT and a follow-up contact at 4 weeks. It's evidence-based, and it's adapted from the UK's very successful Improving Access to Psychological Therapies program, the IAPT program. And we've piloted and evaluated it in the Australian context. So Beyond Blue has invested a considerable amount earlier on with the backing of the Movember Foundation's funding and our own, to really rigorously review how this would work in an Australian context. So we piloted 3 different sites, 3 different locations from a period of October 2013 to October 2016, and prior to this did a lot of research about it as well. Over that period of time, we had 4,800 referrals to those 3 sites. We achieved 40% of those, which is very high for males to come into the program. Females obviously 62%. And as Sharon mentioned earlier, we're really proud of the fact that the recovery rate is 72%. And I'll explain a little bit more about that. Similarly, the completion of treatment at 72%, which again is really staggering to achieve those sorts of results. And a cost-benefit ratio of 1 to 5. So for every $1 spent, we're saving the whole system $1.50. So really, on that large scale, it was independently assessed by Ernst & Young. We're very proud of those results and the recovery that have been achieved. So the clinical tools that are used are the GAD-7, the PHQ-9, the Work and Social Adjustment Scale, and the Kessler-10. So in terms of that recovery rate, the clients need to have improved in both the GAD-7 and the PHQ-9. So very impressive results. So how does it work? And I think one of the important things is how the person's entry, and we've talked a lot about that, that it's really important that people can enter in a way that is non-stigmatising. So this is a non-medical model. People can self-refer, they can be referred through their GP, through their employer, through a whole range of different means, through employment agencies, and I guess this is the beauty of today as well, that we can all interlink together for the benefit of our clients. So they enter through a low access, an easy entry point. They undertake the coaching sessions. There's the stepped care, which I think South Western Sydney has done so well in explaining that to clients. It's very person-centred. We'll talk through a little bit about the risk management that Dan and Simone will go through, and there's the conclusion of the treatment. And in every session, they are assessed in terms of how they're progressing. So, as I've said, the different entry points, the appointments can be made over the phone. The sessions can be face-to-face or over the phone. You can use Skype. So again, it's whatever suits that modality. That's a really critical point. I guess one of the important things that we've learned is how we market this. How do we get people to enter the program? So we're on Facebook. We're using non-medicalised language. How did we attract men? So it's using, have you got worries, financial concerns, really ensuring that we use language that doesn't create a barrier to begin with. And it may also create an insight. As we know, people with mild to moderate may not even be aware that they're in that zone. Yeah, so it may be words that trigger them to think, oh, I've got those worries, I've got those issues, those problems. So if we can create the insight for them to ring up and make an appointment, then we're getting to them very early. Yeah, so we've done a lot of research, even down to what marketing photographs work to actually attract people in, which has been very successful. And I think Beyond Blue, that's one of our greatest strengths in how do we talk to the community in that plain language. As I said, a lot of Facebook advertising to get people in that way. So it's on their terms, in their way. And both the delivery mode is done through telehealth and face-to-face. So current sites, we've got about 8 new access sites, which we're just thrilled to have. So from those 3 original pilot, they have now are off and running on their own, which we're thrilled, funding themselves, and we have 8 new access sites around the country, which is just phenomenal given the results that we've achieved to date. And one of the key things is that we're integrating it into each of these locations. So what's right for South Western Sydney, what's right for each of those locations, how do they fit in, is also really important. But it's using that tried and tested coaching model. All right, I'm going to hand over, as it says now. We're very proud, so we're thrilled to be a part of this whole, I guess, consortium, I guess. We're thrilled that Southwestern Sydney PHN has funded the program. We're also proud that Bolton Clarke is actually delivering the program. So if I can introduce now to Executive General Manager Dan Woods. Over to you, Dan.
Oh, technology. It's very stressful. Very stressful. Especially when your plane was hit by a catering truck in the last couple of days. Been rescheduled on planes recently, so technology has not been working particularly well. It's a great pleasure to be with you today. Forgive my glasses. It's not that I'm looking over at you. I just haven't yet admitted to my need for a different type of focal lensy thing. Very proud to be here today with you. Very proud to be associated with Beyond Blue and Southwestern Sydney PHN. Bolton Clarke would be a name that's perhaps not familiar to you, and there's very good reason for that. That's because we only launched it nationally 6 weeks ago. But Bolton Clarke is the sum of two very large healthcare providers. One of those being RSL Care, mainly operating in Queensland, and the other RDNS, formerly known as Royal District Nursing Service in Victoria. Between those two organisations, 210 years of providing healthcare services, predominantly aged care services, supporting around 130,000 people every year, with mainly at-home support, including high-level nursing and domestic assistance, as well as retirement living and residential aged care communities. Those two things have both been in the news a lot lately. Oh, did we lose the... I've lost something here. Technology. Glasses. It's not a good combination. Each year we make about 4 million visits and we have about 5,000 beds across the country. These are the services that we're well known for. And if you do a good quick Google search, thanks to our digital marketing team, you'll see a lot of references to Bolton Clarke in each of those streams. But what's less well known about our organisation prior to our merging 2 years ago is that we also deliver specialist services that are essential for people's quality of life and for the maintenance of their independence. These include pregnancy, birth and baby helplines for new mothers and families experiencing pregnancy and the early stages of new parenthood. We have a homeless persons program that reaches out to the marginalised. We have an HIV team, and we have an internationally recognised research facility, the Bolton Clarke Research Institute, which continues to investigate issues that are pertinent to community health, ageing and wellness. We also have a long-standing commitment to diversity and to consulting with communities through projects like our Transcender project to find ways to improve health literacy and deliver meaningful support. So I wrote in my notes on the plane that had been cancelled and then was late and then been cancelled again. Why new access? Why would we now be involved in mental health programs? And as I read the previous paragraph, in terms of what we have been doing for many years, it becomes obvious that new access is absolutely in keeping with the mission of our organisation. And that mission, originating in 1885 in Melbourne and 80 years ago in Brisbane, was to reach out to people who were vulnerable, marginalised, who did not have their own voice, and who were not able to speak up for themselves to access the support that they needed. And we felt that the New Access program does precisely that it gives voice to people who don't have it, it gives access to people who may be afraid to seek it, and it gives meaningful results to people who are deserving of it. And for that reason, we were delighted to enter into a partnership with Beyond Blue, and we are particularly delighted to be able to now be delivering New Access services on behalf of Southwestern Sydney PHN. Because the reality is that the common element across our service base is our commitment to not just aged care or to people in retirement villages or to people out at home. Actually, at the heart of what we do is supporting health, well-being, quality of life and independence for people and communities in whatever way is appropriate so that they maintain that quality of life for as long and as strongly as they can. New access. I was thinking on the plane as well. I do a lot of thinking on the plane. I spend a lot of time on planes, so I've got a lot of time to think. Not all that thinking is productive, I have to say. But I was thinking about how, when I was a boy, which is possibly longer than I'd like to admit now, we would talk about, or I'd hear my grandparents say, if you haven't got your health, you haven't got anything. And I understood that, and I still understand what that means. And it's true. But what I also realised is that I always associated that with physical health. And the reality is that we need our mental health. And without our health as a fulsome whole, then that's where we start to struggle. And the New Access program is very much about helping people at the front end so that things don't graduate to a higher level. And the evidence speaks for itself. We're really excited by New Access, and we've been really warmly rewarded. We've been doing this work now for some time in South Australia with our New Access team, headed up by Simon Thrippleton, who's going to speak far more eloquently than I am in just a minute. And we've been able to see a genuine difference made to the lives of more than 2,250 clients, and we continue to build on that number day by day. Our coaches, I have to say, are remarkable people, seriously impressive people who have a heart for this work and whose heart, through that work, changes lives for the better. They work with people of all ages, and they are often helping people cope with life transitions from leaving school to leaving the workforce to dealing with change, and we look forward to seeing the same level of success in southwestern Sydney. As somebody who has confronted fully the impact of anxiety and depression, I can assure you that the threats to mental health are hidden and lurking in all walks of life. And the good mental health enables people, all of us, to deal with the very many elements of life. The two go hand in hand. I think I have to change the slide because it's what my notes are prompting me to do. Oop, it went one too far, sorry. Southwestern Sydney, SWSPHN covers 7 local government areas with a population of nearly 1 million people. Mental health has been identified, as you would expect, as one of the region's top 10 priority needs. As you would expect, because I think all areas would be identifying mental health as one of its top 10 priority needs. It's an incredibly diverse area, densely populated, with rural locations, more than 41% of residents born overseas, and almost half the population speaking a language other than English at home, and with metropolitan Sydney's highest Aboriginal population. We know that around 1 in 4 Australians will experience anxiety at some point in their lives, and in any one year, around 1 million Australian adults will experience depression. Research and our own experience in the field shows the link between that and chronic disease. Chronic disease conditions and management or lack thereof can often be traced back to mental health issues. So in an area of this size, those numbers are significant, and therefore the need for proactive mental health interventions and programs such as New Access are essential. Supporting early interventions that overcome barriers, reduce the stigma, so important. As a male, I'm still aware within my own cohort of the resistance to discussing those things that plague us. I don't always think it needs 6 beers to start to talk about those things that afflict all of us. So this program helps to reduce that stigma furthermore by making it accessible, by taking away barriers to entry, giving people the tools to cope through difficult times, goes right to the heart of the purpose to support wellness and independence for more people in more places. Beyond Blue and like-minded, like-oriented organisations have done an enormous amount of work to reduce the stigma and of mental health and mental illness, and it is by the work of Organisations such as SWSPHN and our own organisation and everybody in this room, that we will continue to break down that stigma, and we will contribute corporately to the improved mental health of our region and our nation. So on that note, let me say again, we are delighted to be working with South Western Sydney PHN and Beyond Blue to deliver this service in the region. Thank you very much. Now, this is where I will fail, possibly, but I think we need to press into the black square, which seems oddly paradoxical. I don't want to go into the black square, but this is Tamara's new access experience, a short video before Simone Thrippleton, our National Manager of Mental Health, will address you.
I'm not going to be Tamara on our video today, but we've got a beautiful video that I'd encourage you all to go onto YouTube, and all you need to do is type in New Access Tamara, and it's well worth a minute and a half to watch a really inspiring young woman who's 30 years old who came in through the program. And Tamara talks about feelings of her family saying to her, just suck it up, get over it, stop feeling stressed, stop being anxious. And when she came into her coaching, she cried at her first session and realised that this program was going to help her. Now, 2 years on, Tamara last month sent us a letter and talked to us about the wonderful success and the sustainability of being able to manage her everyday stress and anxiety. So, well worth it. Write down New Access Tamara and go to YouTube and have a look. All right, what we'll do is we'll have a look at the next slide here. So I'm Simone Thrippleton, the National Manager of Mental Health. My background is I've been working within the New Access program and very closely with Beyond Blue for the last 4.5 years, and led one of the pilot sites in South Australia. So for us now, we are so excited to be part of the South West Sydney PHN region and be able to introduce to you our coaches here that are available to you and your clients, your families and your friends. So as you can see at the bottom, and I hope the pictures are big enough, but I'm a picture person, so we wanted you to be able to put a face to the name. And most of the coaches are here today, so as I introduce you, Susan does our intake for us, and she does that nationally. But then we've got Clement, who at the moment I know has a client, so he couldn't come away to see us. So then we have Karina. Karina's over here. Hi, Karina. Then we've got Everton, who's hiding down the back, and Everton loves to stand in front of a camera, so I'm surprised he was hesitating to stand up. We've got Time. Where are you, Time? There you are, hi. And then we've got Jackie and Celise. This is our team of coaches that you can refer into, and I'll talk to you on our last slide of how easy it is to refer into New Access program. So this is our team here available to you. They are specifically trained, and as Susan had talked about the training based on the IAPT model in the UK, so they're trained as low intensity CBT practitioners, and we call them coaches here in Australia. They have just completed 6 weeks training, intense training that was delivered through CBT Institute, based on the IAPT model and based on our learnings here in Australia, so that they can deliver cognitive behavioural therapy for people who have stress, anxiety or depression. That's 6 weeks intense. They then can go live, as we call it, with clients on week 7, and we've just gone live. We're now a couple of weeks in, and we're seeing clients coming in through the doors and already seeing remarkable improvements in our clients. The training, though, doesn't end at week 6. That training continues for the next 12 months, and in that time they are provided weekly clinical supervision. as well as then monthly group supervision. And then along the way, they have to submit a portfolio, do certain assignments, meet different criteria to be able to graduate at the end of the 12 months. Now, our coaching here is available face-to-face, over the phone, and also via Skype. Now, Skype for us has been quite a new innovation, and we are finding it extremely successful once you get over some of the IT issues that sometimes you have in technology, and we've got that all set up now. We're finding that clients are actually choosing this as a preferred option. Through our pilot program, we were able to look at the interventions of phone and face-to-face to see whether we were also achieving the same client recovery rates, and we were, no matter what the method of delivery was. You can see on the side we've got a number of languages that our coaches speak. So we've got English, of course, Portuguese, Spanish, Indonesian, Mandarin and French. We might send them on some courses as well so that we can broaden those. So what underpins the program? So this, I suppose, is a bit of a summary of what Susan and Dan was saying about the program. We do have a specialist workforce, and as I was saying, being part of the pilot, we also deliver new access in a few other states and PHNs. So for us, we have a team of new access coaches. We've got 16. And those coaches now provide a scaffolding to our new coaches here within this region. So they now bring 4 years of experience in delivering this program. And what we see is multiple levels of skill and knowledge and capabilities now that they can share. And we have a buddy system where they link in with their new buddies to make sure that they're guiding them as well. So there's a real structure in the way that we deliver our program and support that workforce. These coaches, they guide their clients to lead their own recovery, and that's really important. We are not there to drag the client along. We walk alongside that client to lead their recovery. But we also give them the tools and the strategies to be able to do that. We have workbooks, and around the model, we maintain fidelity to a model. And that's why for us, we can measure the client success rates. Our program, delivered by Bolton Clarke, we sit on a recovery rate of 74.8% client recovery rate, and we are tracking at the moment at a 95% client retention rate, which is really remarkable in mental health programs. That means that when someone walks in that door, 95% of them will complete treatment, and of those 95%, we will have 74.8% who say that they have recovered. We then, under that governance, is underpinned by really 6, I suppose, key aspects, and it's around, one of them is around the assessment. So a client will be referred into the program. Susan will take our intake. She'll allocate them then to a coach. That coach will see the client within 7 business days. They will then undertake an assessment that takes up to an hour, and in that assessment we have a look at their stress levels, their anxiety levels, their depression levels, their work and social adjustments. We also look at phobias, and we also take a K10. So you can see that on the, your right hand side there. All of this information then is fed into our database called PCMIS, and our supervisors can access that at any one moment. So we don't have to have a supervisor embedded within our organisation. CBT for us provide that remotely. They then link into that database. They can see the notes of the coaches, and they can also see the graphs to make sure that somebody is tracking towards recovery. This helps us to really manage our risk. And for us, being a low-intensity service, that is so important, because we've got to make sure that our service is right for that person at the right time. So in that assessment, if we do find that someone comes in at very high risk, and there may be intents to act upon, or there may be multiple complexities, we then will step the client up. So it's been great being here today to just be able to understand some of the other programs that are available. We also will look at linking people into other community programs as well, and that's really important because we don't want to build dependence on a coach. We want to link that person so that they've got their supports wrapped around them. So you can see on the right-hand side some of the measures that we use. The GAD-7 there is the first one. So you can see that this is a client that has come in for their assessment, then they've had their 6 subsequent sessions. We then do a 1 month, and as a value add, we also do a 6-month follow-up. So you can see at every intervention we measure their depression level. This person here was in the pink zone, which is at caseness. So there was, if you sent them to a doctor, there would be a clinical diagnosis there of depression, but you can see within 2 interventions that now was back into a recovery phase. The next one is for us a PHQ-9, which measures your anxiety levels, lower levels of anxiety for this individual. Then we have a look at our work and social adjustment scales, and this one is really key for us to see how that person is interacting within their community, within their employment. Sometimes we'll see at Christmas times these work and social adjustment scales are really high because people are starting to avoid wanting to go to Christmas lunches. We've all been there, we know that at times they can be challenging, can't they? Or it may be around certain, having to do presentations for work, those sorts of things. The next one that we look at is phobia scales. So this person would have come in with a particular phobia, but by having that opportunity to talk to their coach, work out a plan, put some strategies in place, they'll be given some homework, that has dropped down very quickly. You can also see the K10 at the bottom. So the K10 for us, that was quite high with the measure for this person coming in. So they were still in that very pink zone at a clinical caseness, but that dropped very quickly down into the green. So this is what we do to underpin our program, to make sure that as an early intervention program, we are getting in early for preventative, and as Susan was saying, every dollar that we spend on new access, we save $1.50 in the long term on the health system. Our clinical supervision is provided by CBT Institute. We also have the clinical governance of Bolton Clarke, and we also have the governance from Beyond Blue, so we work in partnership together. The last one for us is making sure that we do reach the right clients. And so, as we would look at in the assessment, if they aren't suitable for the program, we will step that person up. But someone can also step back down into our program. So, for instance, if someone has been going through their psychological supports, they may have reached their 10 or 12 sessions, and they're feeling that they're getting their life under control, but they're still struggling with some anxiety. You can step them back into our program and we can work with them. So it goes up or down, I suppose, in the step model. Now, let's have a look. Yes, have I missed one? Oh, 1 more minute, yes, I'm on to the very last one. So, how to make an appointment, most important. When you leave today, you'll see our stand out the front there. What I encourage you to do is grab a flyer or grab one of the little wallet cards. The wallet cards are particularly good because you can put them in your purse or your wallet, and when anyone comes to you and says, I'm feeling really stressed at the moment, I'm really worried about this, I'm feeling flat, or you might see in your colleagues a lot of sick days or family members who give it all at work but then fall in a heap when they get home and they're really struggling. And all you need to say is there is a program that is easy for you to access. Pick up the phone, you ring the 1-800 number. You can go via the Beyond Blue website and come in. We'll deliver the sessions face-to-face over the phone or via Skype. It's as easy as calling on the flyer. You'll see each one of our flyers have the 1-800 number on there. Otherwise, grab a coach, speak with them, or speak with me on your way out. But thank you, everybody.
An incredibly compelling service, and I could see the level of interest in the room. I mean, that recovery rate, the retention rate is impressive, isn't it?